Hello, everyone, and welcome to the YTMB Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. My name's Johnny Rep from Southeast Rails. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the YTMB Builders, the EMAG, the YTMB Builders live show, and the Tuesday night presentations. You can go to YTMBbuilders.com. There you can get the schedules for the Tuesday night presentations, who's going to be presenting, and what the guest to be or the subject. The EMAG, you go there, click on it. You can sign up to be notified by email when the EMAG comes out, and it's in a PDF. So that way you watch it on a variety or read it on a variety of different devices. JD and his crew do a great job with that e-magazine. And the YTMB Builders live show schedules there also. We have a show coming up this Saturday. That show's going to be myself directing. Barry is going to be the host this weekend. Bill has got a previous commitment that he's going to have to fulfill, so he couldn't make the show. Saturday night's guest is going to be Steve Montgomery with the Carroll Valley Railroad. So that's going to be a real interesting show. So who we got on the panel here? We got Tony, we got Mr. Newcastle, Miles Hale, Lee in California, Jim in Michigan, Hillbilly somewhere is in the mountains sitting out on the front porch of his cave, and then we got Andy here. So, for the Q&A, those are in the Q&A. Feel free to put any comments or questions up so we can try and answer those questions for you or discuss the comments. This past weekend was the NMRA train convention and the NMRA train show. I was up there this weekend along with Andy, DeBob. We also had a good friend of mine, Jay. He came up for the day. Dave, that you see here in Hangouts, he came over from Ohio for the day, him and his wife. We had a good time. The show wasn't that big. It was nice. Had a lot of interesting layouts. I took some pictures. I'll be posting those this week, hopefully. Get them out there. I didn't take too many, but I took a few. There was a one I haven't seen at any of the show. What few shows I've been to was a European modelers that are here in the States. It's a group of Germans. They had a really interesting layout. Had a lot of catenary on it, but it wasn't being used to power the trains. They were still powering them through the track. But
it was all under catenary, wasn't it? The whole layout was under catenary.
No, I think there's a few places that didn't have the catenary.
Okay. Boy, it was unique.
Oh yeah, it was really good. Really good. I didn't spend a lot of money. I did spend money with Fast Tracks and had a little issue with the jig I had. Tim with Fast Tracks, the owner, was really good to work with, and now I've got a new jig coming. There's one I had did have a manufacturing mistake in it, which was making building turnouts a little difficult, but he's rectified that, and I really appreciated that. But yeah, we had some big names there. Yeah, I overslept my 10 o'clock alarm. Let me go turn it off.
Yeah, it really wasn't that big of a show, but And I'm going to go check out some of the other shows other than the NMRA. NMRA used to be a lot better show years ago when I went to them, but I mean, all the big boys were there. You know, NCE Digitrax, you know, DCC Concepts, etc. on the DC side.
Scale Trains.
Barbill.
Yeah, Scale Trains was there.
Oh man, gosh, I'm telling you, that is the only thing. You know, I'm kind of obsessive, as you guys know, about what I model. Uh, but that's the only thing that's totally outside of my era and prototype and everything that I'm so tempted to buy. Probably won't buy it, but doggone that UP Big Blow is just some kind of impressive.
Go UP.
Yeah, I like that locomotive anyway. I mean, it's just a gorgeous locomotive, you know, a gorgeous prototype to make one out of. But boy, Scale Trades outdid themselves. And there's not many manufacturers that I have that good of stuff to say about. I'm a pretty big Broadway Limited fan. They were there. I seen them too. But I'm telling you, Scale Trades has set the bar so doggone high that it's going to be hard for anybody else to impress me.
Yeah. All right, Tony is sitting over here waiting very patiently, and unfortunately, I want to keep him just a minute too longer. Let him kind of sit there and steep a little bit. Bruce has got two comments up here. To the person building a helix and asked about TOFC back in the mid-1950s, whatever that is. I too am looking for TOFC info for 1969 to 1985. I found two videos on YouTube I found to be very informative. One was the PRR, Pennsylvania Railroad, in 1955. He has the link up here in the Q&A. Then he also says the second video, and this one shows very early COFC, container on flat car, and he's got a link to that one also.
Yeah, TOFC's trailer on flat car, and it's the very first intermodal stuff, and interesting. I'll go watch those.
And we
talked about that last time.
Yeah, I also got James here. Am I in the right spot for Thursday? Well, if you want to be in the Q&A, James, you are. But you can get on the panel if you like. It's still got a couple of spots here left. You're welcome to join up on the panel. I think Miles is rocking out.
Just bobbing back and forth. No music here at all. Just...
Boy, I got a really good show, huh?
Music in the head, you know.
The bobblehead, huh?
That's it.
Well, we won't get into the pickle. But, Tony?
Yes, sir.
I know you're sitting on pins and needles. Are you ready to go?
No, I'm just sitting. You know, I'm just sitting. Yeah, whatever. I'm here.
Tony has been working on some trees, and like a lot of us have been doing. So he asked if he could show what he's been doing, how he's been doing it. So Tony, the show is yours for right now.
Well, golly.
I got you presented.
Excellent. So, we all know the super tree right here. These tan-looking jobs. So then you gotta paint them. So I did some brown, and that's what they look like, brown. Camouflage, whatever you want. And then, voila, I used the super leaf on mine You can use ground foam, foliage. You know, there's hundreds of different foliages out there, and this is what this tree, well, what they resemble. I did a few for the night here. Another one.
That's good.
You know, a couple more, and I have other trees, and a few of these are going to be. I have a lighter color leaf that I'm going to use, and I'm going to paint these trunks gray to represent birch trees, because we have a lot of birch trees, and yeah, so those, that's how you get from super tree to paint to, I guess, finished product. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what did you use to glue your leaf plate?
Oh, yes, I used I went with the Elmer's multi-purpose spray adhesive. I didn't do hairspray, well, because I didn't go to any hairspray stores. So I was in where was I? I was in Ace Hardware, and I saw this. I decided to try it, and I think it works good. You know.
How much does that build up on the tree truck? So I do what you're doing with spray adhesive, but the 3M Super 77, while great, builds up on the tree truck as kind of a frosting. So and the hairspray don't, but it don't stick good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a a couple of things here and there, but I try to keep it down and away from the trunk, and I seem to work well,
Yeah, because you'd always take a paintbrush and touch up those spots. Yeah, if you need.
Yeah, I've had to do that a few times too, and I've been dull coating. I didn't initially. My first bunch of trees are not dull coated, but I've been going back and overspraying them with dull coat so it holds them together a little better.
All right, now you sprayed the tree. You put the super leaf on. Did you spray it again to help hold the super leaf on there, or what?
Not. I did. I sprayed it again because I missed some spots on a couple of them. But I didn't do it. I wanted to let it dry and see if it was coming off. So I didn't do a final. No, not yet. But so far, I mean, I think this one's my best one overall, I think, as a specimen. And I went over to my module, which is in the back of me there, and I was trying to figure out. My new problem is, I have this beautiful tree, but do I want to put them on top of my mountain, my tunnel, or do I want to do something different with that and leave these for, on the ground and, so there goes another dilemma. Or I thought about making these and then cutting them down so you don't have a whole tree sticking up out of the top. You just have, instead of using the clump foliage on the top there, you see this, because you won't see all the trees on top of all the trunks on top of the mountain. And as you're going by, and I went on YouTube and actually looked at some layouts that had trees like this, and they have a few in the foreground, but the background trees were just like neck up, basically. So I'm trying to fiddle around with what I want to do with that. Other than that, let's a good word on the trees.
Well, you might want to try, because Andy didn't put a video up yet. He's taking some of those super trees where they, got kind of mashed on one side flat,
Yeah.
Trim that off of it. Yeah, he'll get two or three of those trees like that, and he trims the flat part off. Now you want to save that because it makes good ground cover, but then he glues those 3 trees together. Use super glue, put the trunks together to make a bigger tree, a bushy tree, and then I think he uses wood putty to make the trunk out of it, so you don't see that 3-stem triangle trunk. Makes a big round trunk. You might want to try that out too.
All right.
Just
lets you offset them. Lets you offset them so you can get bigger trees that are harder to come by. And you know, it was one of my first forays into trying to get fairly large trees, and it worked pretty good. You know, I use super trees as kind of midfield trees. You know, they're not perfectly good for foreground, and for background, I agree that a lot of times it's a waste. Although I use the little ones up at the top and then just work my way down to larger ones. So.
All right. Yeah, so you used the, all right. All mine are, you know, I had a bunch, you know, but they're all pretty much, I have a few smaller ones, but they're all pretty much the same size. You know, I didn't get very many smaller ones, you know, they're pretty much all the same size. So,
yeah.
You know, these are the ones I was going to use for birch trees because they're pretty good specimens. But, you know, like I said, I don't want to get too expensive on the top of the mountain. I'd rather have these nice ones for the, you know, but I think I'm gonna use them in you know, smaller ones, like Andy said, and then we're working our way down to where you drive by them, you can see them from quote unquote eye level, and I think it's a lot harder only working with one 5-foot module, I think, because you have to visualize visualize it in a bigger space and what your eyes can be drawn to.
Yeah.
I don't want, you know, I want them people to be drawn to my river, to my trestle bridge, my, you know, the whole thing, and not just my fucking looking trees. So.
Yeah, this is your first module that you're building too, isn't it?
Yep. Right here. Yep.
I mean, first time you've ever built a module?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's
of course,
the whole thing's been a learning experience for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I help. My dad's a builder, a contractor, for 40 years. So he has all the tools for all the woodworking and stuff.
Yeah.
So he helped me with that, and you know, to be honest, I was going off a Fremo modular standard, that a club that I was going to join, and you know, when I got into the club, into the goings on of the club, it was only like a email club. You know, there was no, you know, Facebook page, or, you know, they're all, it kind of sticks in the mud. So that's why it's you know, it's 52-inch height for, you know, the top of the rail. It's what they wanted, and it's centered. You know, it has their color
Color palette.
Yeah, basically. So, but, you know, I decided to kind of veer away from them. Just like I said, they do. They are at the big Hammer show every year, and they have 40 guys come together, and they have all their little pieces. And I talked to them when they were there, but after that, they're kind of, you know, homebodies, you know. So
yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the difference in quality across the layout. You know, you don't want trees that are, you know, necessarily all incredible trees or necessarily crappy trees that draw attention. what I've found is if you do something really exceptional down front, like a couple really exceptional trees, but the rest of everything's kind of mediocre, people will notice that one really awesome thing, and that's great, but they're not looking at the big picture. The alternative is do a bunch of awesome things and one big crappy thing, and all they're going to see is the crappy thing. So it's got to be somewhat, or at least in my opinion, somewhat cohesive in quality. Now that doesn't mean everything has to be first class. Things in front have to look a little better, whatever, but there can't be a massive disparity in the total quality of craftsmanship of your layout, in my opinion, or things fall down. Now, if you do, kind of middle of the road on everything, that seems to work. If you do craftsman, you kind of have to do it on everything, at least I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to bug on you guys. That's my bedtime and drove a bunch of miles.
Take care,
that's
Miles.
Yeah, that's fine. It's good
You
to
guys
see you, Miles.
so
See you, Miles.
See you, Miles.
See you, buddy.
What are
Yeah,
you screen sharing there, Lee? All right. Well, you got anything else you want to show there, Tony? Or
I was showing that the super leaves used, and I figured out quick. Don't spray your spray adhesive into the box that you're sprinkling your stuff over, because you end up with a giant mess, and
Yeah.
you can't redeem your leaves because they're full of glue. So use a
You
different.
lose a lot of leaf. And that stuff's not horribly inexpensive, it's not outrageous, but it's not cheap either. So I've got a bunch of that super leaf, like 7 or 8 different colors, and it's not bad, but I use several brands. MP, that's the company that makes scenery products for JTT. You can get MP leaf, Knock leaf. Both of those are really good, but my favorite is from a company called Selkirk, Selkirk.
Yeah.
well, that stuff you got in the box that did get glued up, I'm sure you could probably break it up and kind of throw it under the trees as some kind of ground cover,
Yeah.
cover.
I'll use it somewhere. Definitely.
That's not a total loss in this hobby. You just got to use it in a different way.
Or not spray into the box that you're sprinkling your stuff over. That's all.
Two
That works.
boxes. Two boxes. One's the spray box, the other one is your application box.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a learning process, and that's it.
Yeah. Lee, you're screen sharing all of us here on the panel.
Sorry about that. I heard you a while ago. And if you were just curious what I was doing, I'm just researching the area that I'm modeling prototypically, so just printing out some things, and got a guy that's going to do my signs for me, and he just wanted some prints and me to send them over to him, so.
Whoa. That was
Yeah.
a strange transition.
Anybody's curious, everybody probably knows that we're on here. I'm doing the Mojave Desert area, which you're seeing here in Google Earth, and Google Earth comes in pretty handy in getting an idea what you're doing prototypically if you're doing a prototypical layout, and you get a good layout of the town, the tracks, and the industries that surround it, and it also, this has probably been shared before. If I was the one to come in here and I want to see what the size of this Carl's Jr. is. You just come in here and you left click on it, measure distance, and you click to the other side, and it gives you it's 48 feet in width. So when you want to know what the size of the building is, you can get an idea, so you could scratch build it.
So I was going to say, you modern modelers have got it made with Google Earth. I mean, I use it. It's cool. I'm glad. But a lot has changed over the years, especially when it comes to railroading. So you modern guys have just got it all over on us when it comes to research.
Oh, I love it, man. It makes things a lot easier. That's the whole town I'm wanting to try to fit in a room, and then I got the cement plant that I'm wanting to do that's over here. This is all desert. It's about 30 minutes from me. I yet got to drive down there and take some pictures. I know Stanley just came out with a new tool. Forgive me, I do not know what the name of the tool is, but you could actually hook it to your phone, take pictures of it, and it could actually give you the dimensions and sizes of a sign or the building or a window, or by just clicking on it when you take the picture. Yet got to get that, and I will hopefully when I get it, I'll show it on here how it works.
Is that an app?
Yeah, it's an app, and then, but you got to buy the deal that goes over your camera part of your phone.
Yeah.
It attaches to your phone, and then the lens part of it goes over it, and it's connected to an app. I've seen a commercial on it one time, so I haven't had a chance to look into it very much, but
That sounds
it's
awesome.
out. Yes. So even some old schoolers could use it too by going out and take some old buildings if the buildings are still there, and get an idea what the dimensions are. I only sharing this because I don't have a layout yet like some guys do, but I'm showing that I'm working on one. So this is the cement plant that I'm doing, Lehigh Southwest Cements, and just to east of Tehachapi Pass. That's a cement plant there. And that's a very big cement plant. It's about a mile long.
Yes, that's a huge facility.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's well, you got to call selective compression. You know, there's a lot of things in here I don't really need to model on here, but
No.
the more the merrier, of course. But you know, when people come over my house and they've seen the place in real life and come and see it in my room, they go, "Oh, I've been there before. I've seen that place." You know, wow, you did a pretty good job on making that pretty close to what it looks like. So.
Are you
A lot of-
model the past, Lee, or no?
No, I'm modeling modern day today.
Oh, no, I meant the past, the Telepathy Pass, the loop. Are you gonna do
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do the loop.
Oh no. No.
No, and that loop is just. I'm going to go here to the.
The loop takes so much space, and operationally, it's not that interesting. Scenically, it is, but operationally, it's a passing sighting. I mean,
Yeah, the do the loop and this. See, here's the summit right here. The summit actually starts in this area here. And you see all the suburbs here. Here's the tracks that run along Highway 58, and I'll come down through the mountains here and see if I can get on the loop here. The loop is right there. You can see it right there.
oh yeah,
Way long. Right here, there's the loop. So that's something you would do in N scale and do that whole area. That would be a great layout to make if you want to just do like Andy says, complete scenic layout. You know, no switching, no nothing, just a scenic layout.
unless you have an exhaustive amount of space like the La Mesa Club, where they have 10,000 square feet to build a layout in. But otherwise, it's not going to be fun to run. It's going to get boring. So, looks cool.
I've been to that La Mesa Club, and that's a nice club. And if anybody's listening, you should go visit that club. It's in Balboa Park in San Diego, and it's a very nice club. And it's actually 2 stories. You actually got to walk along the tracks on that layout. Very interesting. They do it model in real life and actual mileage down the scale in 187, and it's very nice layout. Very nice, very detailed layout.
One of the best in the country. One of the best.
I wish I knew that when I was on my honeymoon in San Diego 5 years ago, because I would have went. But
It's been around a while. They've been progressing real good in the last few years at a pretty steady pace, so more's been done on it. One of the best, there's been several views of it, but Josh, NS Modeler 24, done a video on it on YouTube, like 25-minute video, and it's one of my favorites of that layout, his description.
5 years ago, because that's about around the time I was down there, and they only had the bottom floor done. They've spent a lot of time and a lot of money. It's all steel structure. They do have their own dispatch office. It's completely separate from the layout. I got actually a tour of it. I only know that's the only reason why I know it. They model from Barstow to Bakersfield only, and as you walk along the layout, they actually got pictures of it, of the areas that they're modeling, like key spots, bridges, and towns and so forth, grade crossings. They'll have pictures of them, and they did a real nice job, and they're done with it now. They're done with it now, so they got both floors done.
It's impressive, and there's very few layouts. Actually, maybe that's the only one I can think of that is of that size, but is also a prototype layout. Typically, prototype guys build smaller layouts. They're, attention to detail is easier. But
Yeah, they do the selective compression on it.
I think we do too much selective compression in the hobby. We make trees too small. We make buildings too small. I like, especially for like your concrete facility, a photo backdrop. You could model a lot less of it, but still make it look like a really big facility.
Well, since you're bringing it up, here's my thing that I like to do with it. I do like to model the length of it. I do have the space for it as far as length goes, and I want to go starting from here to the main line. I just want to model all this.
Yeah.
Right here, and then use this, go out there physically and take photos and
from the back side of the plant.
Right, and do a backdrop as a photo backdrop, having this in here and all the mining area all in the backdrop, and have physically this modeled in plastic.
Yep. When I found a way to get the photo backdrops pretty cost effective at a local print shop, they could run it off for me on a roll, and that's what I'm going to do. And they're just, I can't remember how much it was, but it's $1 a foot or something to print it on a roll. And it's 20 inches wide or 22 inches wide if you do your own photography work. And stitching together some photos is not, it's not cakewalk, but it's not hard either. So.
Yeah, they got a lot of articles from various places that show you how to do that, and videos. I've seen some YouTube videos and that show you how to do that with different various programs. I don't think it's going to be easy for someone like me, but if I want to do it inexpensively, I'm going to have to learn how to do it, stitch the pictures together, and then take it, like you said, down to I think over here we got a FedEx Conseco, they call it, that will do stuff like that, print things out for you.
Yep.
In rolls, in a big roll.
And it's pretty expensive to purchase them, so it's worth spending the time to learn how to do it and save a tremendous amount of money. I priced one level of my layout out at, I won't mention the vendor's name, but at a popular online vendor for getting model railroad backdrops, and one level around my road was either $1,600 or $1,800. I can't remember, but a lot. That's one level. So.
Well, if anybody in the Q&A's got any questions, don't let Bruce monopolize the Q&A.
Well, if Bob Lacey's listening, he should know that area that was showing really well.
Yeah, he took Greg out there when Greg from Australia was here.
Yep.
So what runs over that anymore? So it used to be the SP and the Santa Fe with some occasional UP traffic rights for coal, according to what I've read. So what's running over it now?
Well, I researched it. It did start out as the Southern Pacific and ASTF. I believe that's how you pronounce. Santa Fe.
ATSF, yeah, Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe.
UP did build the line. I don't remember what year it was. It was in I think it might have been in the 50s, somewhere around that time frame, 40s, 50s. And then, well, so I should say Southern Pacific built in that UP. Yeah. And then BNSF took it over when it became BNSF, and then now UP and BNSF run through this line. This yard here in Mojave, this is Mojave Town, is actually UP's yard. It's not BNSF. It's actually used as a yard and an interchange track for BNSF. BNSF will come through here, drop what they need off for UP, and then continue on. This track here is BNSF line, and this down here is the UP line heading toward Los Angeles.
That's what you're going to try to model, right? You're going to model that yard?
Right. And then it combines together here at this yard, and it runs all the way to Bakersfield together through the Tehachapi Pass. UP does all the deliveries. There's another cement plant out here. I scoot over here. Another very, very big one, actually. It's right there. It's been around for a while. There's actually another gypsum plant up there where they make drywall further north from here. And that branches off as well. BNSF runs from Bakersfield up toward, going out toward Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and so on, all the way back east from this area right here.
Well, what you're trying to model looks pretty modelable. A couple railroads, a little bit of interchange. It would fit on a narrow shelf.
Yep. That's why I finally chose it. As a truck driver, I drive through there many times, so I was like, this ain't a bad area to model. I started thinking about it. So it's got a little interchange area. It's got two different railroads combining together. It's got a couple places to model. I could maybe throw in a few freelance things in there maybe and call it the railroad.
That's why, you find that you don't want to model a straight piece of track with nothing interesting on it, but, most of the things in railroading that are extremely interesting are also very hard to model. The size and the scope makes it pretty hard to model. Like, it's pretty hard to model the Pennsylvania, the Northeast Corridor, Pennsylvania's 4-track main line. That's tough.
I'll zoom in here a little bit. You could actually, and I've already done the map, and I think you were on here, Andy, when I was doing it. You could measure. Whoops.
Yep.
I don't think those people don't want to see themselves on here, but you could measure this. When I measured it, you can measure about half of this area here from here all the way up to this town, to this side, to right about here. That is about 3.5 feet. You need actual 3.5 feet wide bench work to model that area, which for just 18 feet that I need, and the 3.5 feet, that would give me a nice, reasonable, real-life feeling railroad in a small space, and still have the operations with the cement plant and a few other things that they have here in this town to do what I need to make it feel like a prototypical real-life railroad. And John caught me actually printing stuff off, and I got somebody. I don't know if I should be able to mention his name on here, but everybody probably knows him. But I've contacted him, and he asked me to print some pictures, and he will try to make some signs for me. And he's actually made a building, which is, we got a Carl's Jr. here, not a Hardee's, and he made a Hardee's, so he's going to do the Carl's Jr. for me. I just need to email this stuff to him, so I get prototype.
He does good work too, and he's really done wonders for the modern modelers out there.
Yes, he has.
I've got a comment here I want to throw in real quick, Jim, because I know you can't see the screen.
Yo.
Curtis has got a comment for you. Hey, Jim, don't break that one.
Yeah. Well, you got me, John. We want to talk about this real quick? About this ground cover?
I'll get you presented here if you want to give us an update on what you've been doing.
Okay, last week I mixed up that ground cover, ground goop, whatever you want to call it, 4 cups of everything except the glue. I did 3 cups of glue and then 1 cup of hot water. They didn't do that on the show, but after it sat a couple of days, it was a little thicker than I wanted it, so I added 1 more cup of glue, which made it 3 cups of glue, 4 cups of paint, 4 cups of vermiculite, and 4 cups of the celluclay. And then I added 1 cup of hot water and got a better mixture out of it, I think. So final recipe was 4 cups of the vermiculite, the celluclay, and the paint, 3 cups of the Elmer's glue all, and then 1 cup of hot water. So that's the mixture I ended up going with. That did from this end here. If I get you guys all sick here. There we go.
Let's see.
So I did it from this end.
Hey, Johnny, you got Lee still presented, so you might want to swap it over to Jimmy so people can see what he's doing.
Thought I had Jim present. All right, how about that?
Okay. So I did my siding there next to the tracks. And up this side, across the mountain. Oops, and my camera just froze up. Darn it. My camera connection come apart. I'm going to have to refresh the page. But you can see what's, even with it frozen there, you can see I've done quite a bit out of that 1 4-cup mixture. So it goes quite a ways.
Yeah.
But I got to refresh because I'm frozen, so I'll be right back. I hope.
Yeah, we'll be right here.
Well, this don't have a refresh on it because of my... Okay, hopefully I can get back in and be right back.
I'm generally amazed at how far that scenery goop stuff goes. Its coverage is substantial.
Yeah.
Do you like it better than just painting the styrofoam? Is it a better way than just painting the styrofoam brown color?
Well, I think
No,
so.
I would prefer to just paint it. But it's too doggone hard to work.
Hmm.
Getting
Are you
the styrofoam right.
Are you talking about the comparison of painting the styrofoam or using this ground goop on the styrofoam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I painted my last mountain, and it's okay, but here's what you get. See this crack right here? I don't know if I get it in the screen or not.
Yeah, a little bit more. Move your camera. You're right, a little more. There you go.
Okay. You see that crack there? That went diagonally all the way back to the wall. And if I painted that, that crack would still be there, on the top half. And I would have to take some lightweight spackling or something, fill it all in, try to smooth it out, and then paint it. And even though spackling is paintable, the coloration difference between the spackling and the foam is slightly different. So you'd see a line there. So by taking this ground goop, you just cover your cracks with this ground goop. It works great for covering cracks. And not having paint, this gives you a texture, as you can see there. Whereas the other stuff just looks like you painted styrofoam.
Yeah, it's flat, smooth.
Right. This whole mountain, hopefully I won't lose connection.
Is it totally like rock, like solid? Is it hard to punch the tree in?
No. I mean, you can take an owl. I can push, and it's spongy. I don't know if you can see my finger on camera or not, but it's slightly spongy. So you wouldn't be able to push a super tree in there because it's it's thin. It's going to break. But you take an owl or maybe an ink pen. Well, maybe an ink pen's too big, but take a scratch owl
Or a nail.
And poke your hole through into your styrofoam, and then set your tree in, and then you don't have to glue the tree in. Then if you want to take it out, you can throw a little bit of stuff right over the hole, and you don't even see it, and you can rearrange your trees if you want. And you can see I have layers. I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 layers up to here of 1-inch foam.
Raise your camera up. You're out of right. There you go.
Okay. So I got 4 layers of foam here. And you can see how it just covered these 3 layers perfectly. You can't see the lines or nothing. In the last one I did, when I painted it, I had all the lines, and I had to spackle them and sand them, and even after I painted them, you can still tell there was a line there. So I really like this stuff. It's not really that much more. I got $55 invested, but I've got enough to do my whole layout, and my plans is all of this pink foam once I get my buildings where they're going to be, it's going to be covered in this stuff. So I'm going to have a texture, instead of being just a flat styrofoam with paint on it, it's going to have a texture in all of it. Of course, I'm going to go over it with, ground foam or whatever to make grass and weeds and stuff like that, but it's going to have this undercoat on everything that's pink.
Now, another thing, Jim, is we own flat areas there. I saw this in the magazine. The guy put that scenery goop down, and before it set up, or right after he got through putting it down, he took his, well, in this case, it was a house, and he set the house down on it and kind of wiggled it a little bit, let it settle in, left it there for about a minute or two. He raised the house back up, took it back off the layout. It left an imprint of the footprint of the house. So once it all dried, he set the house back down. That brought the ground right up to the edge of the house, just like a real house would be.
Right, and that's a good idea.
Like it was just sitting on top.
And one thing I wanted to point out, and hopefully, can you see my finger right here?
Yep.
Okay. This is one piece here, and then this was the mountaintop. And I was just able to take that stuff and fill it right in, so it looks like all one piece there. So
And it locked that piece in, didn't it?
Huh?
Didn't it lock that piece?
Yes, it did. It locked that piece in pretty good for me. And here, where I'm going to have a gap right here. You just see me, I was cutting a little piece in there that I'm going to hot glue in. But then I could take this stuff and just kind of smooth it right up over the top, and it'll look like the ground's coming right up to the brick. So, I mean, there's a lot of good practical uses for it on the model railroad for filling in gaps, and so you can't tell where one piece of styrofoam starts and another one ends, and etc. So
Yeah, and also that bridge, your tunnel portal there on the outside. I see there's a little gap. You can fill that in with that.
Right here.
No, at the bottom.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not quite finished with this scenery. I was just fitting this in, so I knew I had it fairly centered, and the piece I needed on the top, I'm gonna hot glue in. And that's what I was doing earlier. I hot glued some strips across here. So now when I set my wall in here that goes in here, it'll sit up flush with this, and then I'll just have this ground goop coming right up to this edge here.
Yeah.
I was going to set it in there and put some saran wrap in there and just kind of goop all that stuff in there as best I could to fill it all up, and then try to let it dry over a week or two, and then remove the saran wrap. And then I decided I would just build these pieces on here. They're pretty sturdy hot glue, but once I get this stuff on top of all this,
Yeah, it locks.
that'll lock it all in. And then when I set my wall in, it'll be right up flush against this, and the ground will come right up to the end of the wall. And
Yeah. I'd say within 24 hours, that stuff is set up as far as it's going to go anyway.
probably, I would, unless you get a big puddle.
Yeah, if you got it really thick in there, you probably have to give it a day or two.
Right. And in different spots, I'm gonna slightly thicken it so it'll be nice and flat here. And then I might, not in this area, but elsewhere in the layout, I might lift it up and actually leave an 1/8 of an inch hump there or something, come back down fairly level, and maybe put a 3/16 hump or something, just so it'll take all this flatness away.
Yeah.
That's the hopes and the plans.
Well, that's one of your favorite words to help you put undulations into it.
Undulations. I know how to use. I know that word. I didn't know. Undulation. I'll have to look that one up. That's a new word for me.
Oh, I thought you said that a few times. I thought I've heard you say it. Where the ground's kind of going up.
Yeah. I'm sure I did, John. Right now, my word of the month is phenomenal, and I use it every chance I get. My wife looks at me like I'm a nut because I told her that the Gunsmoke episode we just watched was phenomenal.
I wonder where you got that word at.
A very smart man. Okay, I'm pretty much done talking about that. I need to mix up another batch, but I'm going to take a break. So if someone wants to watch me mix another batch, I'll be doing that pretty soon.
All right, well, I got you unpresented, so,
Alrighty.
you know. Anybody else got anything going on? Hey, Mr. Hawks, I see you just joined in on us.
Yep. Bit late, but it's always good to join in.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
the only thing I got new is I'm still working on my Helix. I don't know if you hold on. If you
there
can
it is.
see, I've put the borders on either side so that no trains will fall, and I'm almost ready to connect the two exits to the Helix.
Oh, okay.
Still lots of work.
It kind of looks like a house of cards the way you got your spaces in there. Are they connected to each other with glue or something? Or are they just kind of sitting there?
Well, right now they're just sitting there. That's my next thing I got to do is solidify everything that's there.
Gotcha.
There's your word for next month, Jim. Solidify.
Solidify. Undulation. Phenomenally solidified. Oh boy.
No, everything is pretty solid because I had the trains. I tested it with the trains to go all the way up. I mean, but I still have to make sure that it's solidified.
Well, it looks very good. It's awesome. I wanted a Helix. I was told I couldn't do the small Helix that I wanted. So I chickened out and didn't try, but that looks pretty cool. Now, are you gonna try to put a mountain around that, or you can leave it open, or?
No, it's going to be closed up in the front, but everything on top is going to be a huge industry. It's going to be a brewery on top, which is going to be removed. Yeah.
So you're gonna get the conductor drunk at the brewery and then have him do this Helix.
Yep.
Well, he'll be naturally spinning, so I guess it'd be all right.
Okay, we got a little Q&A going on here. I'll read this first one. It's from James. Looking good, Jim. Love to see the progress. And then we'll get over here to Mr. Curtis. Jim. Undulation. He looked it up for you and put it in the Q&A. An act of undulating, a weavable motion, weave-like motion, a wavy form or outline, one of a series of wave-like bends, curves, or elevations.
Well, I thank you, Curtis. I knew what undulation meant, obviously.
Yeah.
I was just trying to give John a hard time. But thanks for your time of looking that up for me.
Now, it's starting to look really good there, Mr. Hobbs.
Thanks, Johnny.
Well, we get a layout going. I'll see if you can come down here and help me on it. Get your passport up to date. Give you a new stamp on your passport.
Andy?
Here's a question. Would you guys wire like every level or every strip of track? How would you wire it?
Well, if it was me, I would do every strip of track that he was.
I do that too. I do every strip, and I don't solder any rail joints. If you wire every strip, don't solder the rail joints. I don't like the look of the soldered rail joints. I don't like that it limits the expansion and contraction that's going to happen. So I don't like soldering rail joints. And in that case, soldering to the bottom of the rail for me on every rail, it's just not that much work to make it run well. However, you could, and there are some big name model railroaders, model railroader royalty, who say solder three pieces together. So solder two joints, making a 9-foot strip of track, and put one feeder on that 9-foot strip. That is probably adequate. And putting a wire on every piece of rail is probably overdoing it. But I don't like soldering rail joints, but I don't like depending on rail joints for rail joints for electrical connectivity. So.
Well, all my tracks on the main level are not soldered, but I did solder every one in my helix though.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm probably going to solder my helix too. And in that case, I'm sure I won't put a feeder on every piece of rail with it soldered. So I'll probably put a feeder every lap of my helix, which is 15-foot linear run for every lap, so 34-inch radius or so. So that's about 15 feet of linear run. I'll probably put a set of feeders every 15 feet then.
Well, because it's a helix, it's all curved using flux jacks, you're pretty much going to have to solder everything that's curved so that you don't have the kinks. But now I'm not trying to cause an argument. Yeah, maybe I am. You just said you didn't count on the solder joints for electrical conductivity, but you would at helix. I would think it would be the opposite. I think I would make sure that I soldered every length in a helix just so I don't have to go back and try to get in there to repair something that might go dead. I mean, call it insurance, like life insurance. It's the way I look at it.
No, I'd agree with you on that. No, I agree with you completely on that. The point of overdoing it on the helix, of soldering the rail joints, etc., is a couple things. One, you can't easily get in there to work on it later, so I do it all now. Two, I don't care what it looks like. It's inside the helix and hidden. So I am going to also use some circuit board ties, PC board ties, at the rail joints in the helix to keep the gauge correct at the rail joints.
Well, and you're doing hand laid, so that's a little different. I would think you would use flex for a helix, though, wouldn't you? Would you waste the time to hand lay a helix?
Oh no, I'm not going to hand lay a helix. Everything that's hidden is going to use flex track. I'm a little obsessive, but crazy is a stretch. So I'm definitely using flex track. I am going to use microengineering, which holds its curve pretty good. But because you cut some of the ties back to put rail jointers on, because as a lot of you guys know, I don't use rail jointers on my visible layout. But in the helix, I'm going to. But as you cut a few of those ties out, you have a little bit of a spacing there of an inch and a quarter that has no ties to keep the gauge correct. So after I put rail joints together and solder those for electrical connectivity and so they stay rigid and get the curve right, I'm going to put a couple PC board ties there at that joint and solder them in to keep the gauge correct on the rail spacing in that section where there's no plastic ties.
Right, gotcha.
A little bit of belt and suspenders, but getting in a helix and working on it later is a little tough. So,
well, I wear the suspenders, but not the belt any longer.
Yeah, I'm a belt guy, but all right.
Scott, have you got something you're going to share with us on your about the helix? I noticed you got your camera on it. When you're wiring your helix, the best that I've seen, I mean, I've done tremendous amounts of video watching. Come on, focus. I ran all my wires down to the bottom. Each level is soldered in 3 different places, about every 3 feet on every level. But then I take, I don't know if y'all can see that. No. Yeah, there you go. Come on, focus. Please, I beg of you. Well, you got to get that camera steady. Down at the bottom is a block. So I've got all the levels tied into that block. And that way, instead of having all the wires running back to my main board, I'll have 2, 4, 6, 8 wires going to power the turnout. Yeah. You need oil on that joint.
Yeah, I agree. That's not a bad picture there. But and then I styrofoam, like I was telling you a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, behind that piece of styrofoam is all my wires that are tied down with cable connectors from your cable company. And then I just hot glued on each head of it and stuck that styrofoam up, because I'm not going to seal mine up like a lot of people do. Me personally, that's too much work to hide. I mean, if you build a helix, that's an accomplishment, because there's a lot of time, measuring, cutting, recutting, cussing. I mean, that's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to bury it.
Yeah.
You forgot about taking it apart and redoing it.
Yes, yes. Hundreds of times you will disassemble that and reassemble it and think, man, why am I building it? That's a lot of wasted material, you know? But once it's done and running smoothly, where you don't have no derails or any current malfunctions, they're sweet. And believe me, if I can build a helix, anybody in this world can build a helix. That is no lie.
Well, I think it looks phenomenal, brother.
Well, I added another section to this. Instead of going, there's my top, the original. Okay, then I'm adding this section over here. It comes off the top of the helix, and it will go over to where you all are. But then I'm going to carry it. The wife don't know about this. I'm going to go across the front of my desk where I work, just on the top, and make that 8 feet long over to my gun case. That's me. I wonder what that was. But I added up everything that I need to do these 4 levels with yards and turnouts and everything. Roughly about $1,200 just in track, switches, and the servos that I'm using.
Well, that's not bad for 4
No,
levels.
that's not bad at all. I mean,
4 levels and a helix?
huh?
I said, that's not bad. You figure 4 levels and a helix.
Right. You know, and I'm staying in this room right now because I am going to take it to the wall. I've already got my portals cut out and everything for the wall on, ooh, it ain't squeaking, over there in the corner. I just goofing off to see what it looked like. But I've got to do a lot of reconstruction work in that other room. As far as the ceiling, the walls, insulating it, wiring it. I'm afraid if I do that, I might lose it to the wife. And I'm gonna make on the room itself is 27 feet long that I'm going into. I'm gonna make it 17 feet by 12 feet layout onto this one, and then I'm going to have like a sitting room before you all get, come in and do the layout, work on it. What do they call that? A lounge. Because once you enter the layout, there will be no smoking.
Engineer's lounge, yeah.
Thank you.
But you'll also need it for a place to sleep. Once you get that
Yeah,
far,
true.
I'm sure you're going to have wife problems.
Very true. But I've got a question for you, for y'all and the panel. I have probably 4 foot of backdrop buildings, those real thin ones, but they're in scale. And I know you can somehow set them back up on the backdrop to give it the 3D look.
I know where you're going with this, and I think that would work, but I personally would think you would have to have them up on top of a hill or mountain or something to make it. Because if you get on that background and it's already the same level as the train, I don't know if the forced perspective would look right. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just, if it's up on a mountain or up on a hill, even a 4-inch or 5-inch hill, so it's above the trains, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, because you really so in scale force perspective using in scale, that's a big size difference. You think of it as half the size, it's really kind of more like quarter the size. So an in scale building should be a couple miles off in the distance. Now, if we were modeling an O, then you could use S scale structures, or if we were modeling an S, you could use HO scale structures. That's not too hard, because the size difference is pretty negligible. But there's not much available in TT, or you could use them in HO scale, but there's a big difference in N and HO. And that would need to simulate something that's pretty distant, like a mile away. And like on my layout, I'm using background buildings too. Actually, that's what I'm working on right now, is working on this is a background structure. It's going to be really thin, but it's 2 feet back. So that's 100 yards or something on my layout. The actual amount that shrinks in size to be 100 yards down the street is pretty small amount.
Now, are you doing strictly background buildings, or are you doing whole buildings? What are you looking for?
Are you talking to me, Jim?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do right now, is look for the buildings so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about.
I've got 2 or 3 structures that someone gave me that were too large for N scale, and they're slightly too small for HO, that I don't think I'm going to use. But they're 4-sided. They're not, it's not just a front. They're 4. I guess you could cut them up and use just the front, but they're slightly smaller than HO.
Yeah, you can cut them up and use them. I mean, what I'm using is not actually a background building. I'm just building it as a background building. I'm building it an inch thick.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, if you are interested in them, I'll give them to you, because I don't think I'm going to use them. I got to dig them out. I got them buried in here somewhere. But if you think you might be interested, Scott, maybe I'll get some pictures and stand them next to a full-scale HO and let you make your determination.
Okay.
But they were given to me, so I'll just give them to you.
I'll send you a card.
No, don't worry about it. I got to dig them out, and we'll measure them, and you can look at them and decide if you want them or not. But they are, like I say, they're kind of almost in between an N scale and an HO.
Right.
See, that would work. N scale's just a big stretch. I mean, that in between scale, which is TT, which is not very popular here in the States, that would work. It would be awesome. You could do that. A force perspective would be believable, in my opinion. But
You stop presenting me, Johnny.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There
I
you
thought
go.
you said something about you was gonna pull the building up. That's okay.
Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to?
Gee, thanks.
Don't hurt his feelings. We heard it earlier and he left.
uh,
I'm going to need to build a helix myself, and I really want to. Yeah. Looks like some math involved, and I'm lazy at math.
Now there's an online. There's actually numerous of these, but there's an online calculator for figuring out all the components and dimensions, etc. for building a helix. It's not. People are scared of them. You know, like when Jimmy was talking about building a helix. You know, everybody was on here was saying, "Yeah, man, ain't no doubt you can do it. No doubt, he's done really good work." Everybody was arguing with him about whether he had enough space to do it, but there's no question that I think any of us that can build enough bench work to hold up track can build a helix. It's not horribly difficult.
It's not that I'm scared of it myself. It's how to approach it. It's because I need to go from. I'm going to wind up doing 3 levels, so I need to start from the bottom level, run around the layout, go up another level, run around that layout, and then come back down that first level.
Yeah, I'm doing that too, sort of. I'm going around the layouts and building some height. So I count the helixes as separate, even though several of them are stacked. This layout will have 7 or 8 helixes on it, but quite a few of them are stacked in one corner. So
Well, just to make sure we're on the same page, my first level is going to be a staging area.
Yep.
Then the second level is going to be the Mojave Desert that I'm doing, which is the town and the yard. And then the third level is going to be where the cement plant is. Then at the end of that, it needs to come all the way back down to staging. So I need staging to come from both directions.
Well, if you can get your staging in the same spot, then you just double track your staging. And one of those is up and one of those is down. So you make the outside loop be your up track because it has a lower grade, and your inside loop be your down grade because it's a little steeper. And you make the inside loop go all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. But you make your outside loop go around a few times, and then split off, go around the room, come back to the helix, and then take the second stack of the outside run and just go on up again a little bit more. It's not bad.
I'll have to get with you on that later and talk some more detail about that because I really need to get that done because I'm probably going to have it done in my peninsula area.
That's what I'm doing. I have 2 places where I'm putting helix. One's at a corner and one's at the end of the peninsula because I couldn't get them all in one place.
Well, I need the one in the peninsula. I mean, in the future, I could have it going to the other room that I got, but right now that room is being used. So that's off limits.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Go to Bill, the track planner's website, and ask him to send you the pictures of his layout construction, because he's got pictures there of his helix on the peninsula. That may help you out.
Yeah.
He said anybody that's interested, just email him, and he'd be glad to send the pictures to him.
Yeah, because he's done something similar to what I'm talking about, didn't he?
Yeah, the helix is right on the end of the peninsula.
Yeah.
Without
the only thing I want to use the helix for is to get from one level to the next, and then all the way back down to the bottom again.
Yeah. I think, don't hold me to it, but I think he actually has one track running on the outside of it, too.
He does. On the bottom level, yep.
I think he did that. I think if I know what you're talking about, he did that just to loop it back around so he could follow the helix back down or up or whatever it was. I think it was on the top that he did that. He went around it so he could continue the helix. So he's not building a different helix on the outside of the helix he already has, so he could follow the loop back around.
But he has a visible track on his bottom level, too, that goes around the outside of the helix that's still visible. So the helix is wrapped in, I guess, going to be hidden behind backdrop. But he'll have a single track out in front of it. It's what it looked like from the construction pictures. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I got his number. I'll just give him a buzz and get with him about the helix part. I don't think he could help me so much with my layout with many people he has, but the helix I'm going to need some help with on getting the idea on how I'm going to do that, because the space I got with what I want to do, I'm definitely going to need a helix in there, and I'm going to definitely need 3 levels.
Well, and don't forget that your helix can take up between 4 and 6 square feet.
I got the room. I got 6 feet.
Right. Well, you said you wanted 2 helix, one at the other end. So I'm thinking, well, there's another 6 square feet.
No. I want it all one helix. I want to be able to. I'm gonna do a single main line, but when it comes back around, back down again, it's gonna be a double main line in the helix. But it's just so it can get back to the staging again.
Right. Like what Andy described. Okay. Well, I thought you
Right.
meant you wanted a helix at each end.
No. Just a helix into my peninsula, like what John said, like Bill has got.
Right.
They take a lot of space. There's no getting around them taking a lot of space. But if you consolidate them, that's not, like you're talking about. It's not so bad. They do take quite a bit of space, though.
I'm expecting at least 6 feet. I'm expecting 6 feet, and I do have that. I have from 6 to 7 feet in the area that I need to build a helix in.
Yeah. Mine's same way, basically. I'm going to do a 34-inch radius, something like that, so it'll fit inside of 6 feet. But
Yeah, the smaller the better, but with the rolling stock that I want to run, and I need at least a 28 inch or higher.
well, and you got to remember too, and a lot of people don't take this into account. Radius or curvature, the railroad did. There's actually a formula on the railroad for calculating this, but radius equates to drag on wheel sets much like a grade. So if it's on a radius, actually John Armstrong, famous track planner John Armstrong, had a way to calculate this. So if you had a 2% grade and it was on a 22-inch radius, it was effectively a 3% grade in amount of resistance. And a helix is often the steepest grade we have on our layouts, and often the steepest radius we have on our layouts. It becomes the controlling factor.
Well, railroads only use that mathematical problem for going down mountains or up mountains to help cause friction, to help them keep them going at a slow pace so they don't lose control of the train.
Yep, they used resistance to their advantage as much as disadvantage.
Yep.
Yep. And they go back and forth to make the grade shallower too. So.
This is like they did that over here on Cajon Pass. I live, within 10 minutes of Cajon Pass, and there's no reason for them to have the curves that they have. They could actually take a straight shot through the pass, but they chose to curve it everywhere, which way they can, to create the friction. Because back in, about 20 years ago, they had a huge accident in San Bernardino area where they lost control of the train, and derailed and spilled chemicals everywhere and killed a lot of people. But
Well, there's two paths where they kind of diverge from each other, right? So sometimes they're parallel, sometimes the tracks kind of diverge where one of them shoots off, and the uphill side goes the more straight path, and the downhill side goes through the curves more, or vice versa, something like that.
yeah, you're referring to the UP and BNSF lines. Yeah, BNSF has 3 tracks, and UP has 2. So there's 5 tracks going through my pass over here.
Yeah, I knew there was something like that going on up there where they had, and you look at the map of that area, the tracks diverge from each other and come back together, and they did that to reduce the grade, even though the track goes off to the side sub, so it's not as straight a path, but the grade's lower, so kind of interesting. That's an interesting section of railroading.
Yeah, and they cross. So they cross at the top, so UP could switch over to BNSF, or BNSF could switch to UP, and at the bottom, vice versa. It is. It's a pretty unique railroad, and twists and twines and goes through a tunnel underneath the highway and
Yep.
bridges and it goes over the river, and it's pretty cool. It's really, really cool.
And no wonder so many model railroaders and rail fans alike have fallen in love with that place. There's so much to like about it. And there's other similar places like the B&O in Western Maryland around Cumberland, West Virginia. The area called the Narrows. The WM, or Western Maryland, runs on one side of the river, and the B&O runs on the other side of the river. And even though they ultimately became owned by the same company, or the B&O had controlling interest in it, they never shut it down. The ITC wouldn't let them shut it down, but it's an interesting, a very modelable railroad for that reason. And like my own railroad, the Clinchfield and the Norfolk and Western run in this same little section of, they run side by side down through here for about 60 miles. And back in the heyday when they were competitive, they fought tooth and nail. But nowadays, they both have trackage rights on each other's lines. So the NS and CSX both run through the same area, and occasionally you'll see NS over on CSX trackage, and occasionally the other way around.
Yep.
Same here.
You'll see a lot of that these days too, where two different railroads, even 3 or 4, will run into the same line and use it just to get through a pass, and then they all just branch back off from one another, like we're talking about home patent and the B&O, and a lot of other places. So even the Tehachapi Pass, BNSF UP, once again, they share the trackage rights and just to get through the pass, and then they branch back off again.
Yeah, there's plenty of, and those are great for modelers because of the diversity of equipment that you have available to run there. And if you're a modeler who cares about modeling prototypes, it's often hard to model anything other than the Santa Fe or the Pincy or the New York Central or whatever it is. But if you find one of these few areas, and there's several in the country where quite a few railroads operated together, like the area around Chicago had like 12 or 14 railroads in a small area, or Cincinnati or St. Louis, those areas, you could model a small compact railroad and realistically or prototypically have a dozen different railroads that you model.
And St. Louis would be a really interesting place to model. Of course, I don't live by it, but a lot of railroads do come into St. Louis. A lot of railroads do, and they actually have a yard that's designated for the different railroads that come in to swap the cars around.
Yep, and railroads that were dedicated, and equipment that was dedicated just to interchanging cars back and forth. New York had that a little bit with the Harbor line. What Big Bill created his fictitious railroad based on the model of. It's based on the idea of what the New York Harbor Railroad did, which interchanged cars between B&O, Pincy, New York Central, etc., Lehigh Valley, some others. Chicago's a big one, St. Louis a big one. There's a bunch of those that are, and they're really ideal. You wouldn't think that Chicago would be ideal for modeling, but it is. It's very suitable to modeling.
And not to change the subject, but as what I do for a living, and obviously a lot of you know what I do for a living. It's interesting how the railroad utilizes trucking companies to do team track stuff, and team tracks could be anywhere, absolutely anywhere. And that was something I was wanting to talk about a long time ago. Was as what I do for a living. I do vac jobs where we go to railroad companies and vac from hopper cars and stuff. And the thing is, we've actually been to other customers that have nothing to do with what's going on and use their spurs to use as a team track.
Sure.
And then we've gone to, there's a place in Vegas that I've gone to that's out in the middle of nowhere. It's a team track, and there's a truck repair place on that property, and they rent it out to the railroad or however they work it, and they use it as a team track. So
that used to be very prevalent. People used to order tractors and cars and all that by the railroad, and the team track is how you got them. And So there's a team track in this little town I'm modeling. It's doing double duty as my programming track. But it's like having an interchange track. Any type of car can go there. Brought in from any railroad. It's a team track is a great thing to model.
Well, I mean, you got the most popular thing now on the railroad is hoppers and tank cars.
Yeah.
So you got your center flow hoppers, and then you got your grain hoppers, and then you got your tank cars. Those could go anywhere at a customer. I mean, you know, there's a snowstorm in Atlanta, Georgia, or an ice storm in Atlanta, Georgia, and they need some plastic hopper cars over there in Atlanta, but they can't get there no more, so they'll call a trucking industry to meet up somewhere in Louisiana to take the product out of the hopper car and then drive it in.
Yep, and they have conveyors. On the team track that I'm modeling, they had conveyors. And they unloaded coal for the local industries because in 1950 they were still using coal heat for everything. So they unloaded coal via conveyors into coal trucks and delivered it to all the houses that use coal to burn for heat off the team track. So even coal hoppers could go there. And then you have the repair in place, the RIP service. That's a great place to put any car that developed a hot box along the line, and a crew would come out and work on it, sitting right there on the track. So it's an interesting thing to model in that you could drop any car and then, you know, pull up a mechanic's truck beside of it.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's actually a place that I know that actually does what you're talking about right now, and it's not too far from mine. Let's see if I can screen share it. Figure this out.
It's a unique thing to model that's very railroady, if that's a way to describe something. You know, it's the kind of stuff we like. It's, you know, an NS maintenance crew or a UP maintenance crew truck and a bunch of tools, a guy standing beside a car that got a hot box. So.
Well, it's very modern too. I mean, anybody that's in the modern day. Let me get back to my other.
It's in any era, really, because they did the same thing back in my era. They did it the same way. If they had to repair one, they dropped it, often on a team track if they could, because it was out of the way, and they would go out and haul it in if they could with a special order, slow order, or they'd go out and repair it in place. You know, they'd go rip it.
I don't know if
that was done early.
I don't know if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, I got your percentage.
Let me get down here. Yeah. Let me work my way over there. It's exactly what Andy's talking about. Rip and repair, and they also do loading at this customer that I know. It's actually in a Morongo area here in California. I got a lot of casinos over here in this area. Pretty well-known place.
See, I think a rip track I think is very under-modeled, and team tracks are under-modeled, and interchange tracks are under-modeled, and I think they offer some of the greatest potential to operational model railroads, yet not a lot of people model any of those.
One thing I saw interesting one time in a magazine was Trains magazine. They had a picture of Santa Fe hopper cars on a trestle bridge, and they were dumping salt into trucks for the heavy winter.
Over a trestle bridge. That's cool.
So here we got a mining area right here.
Yeah.
Let's see
That's
where.
cool.
Yeah, this is a mining area. Right here is their. Right here, you can actually see the cars actually sitting here right now. There's a rest in peace track right here. Now I've seen different cars sit here. Here's where they have another one, and this is where they bring the locomotive in. This is the main line here. This is UP. Here's where they load them. Up at the top of my screen. Well, they'll bring the train in. The engines will disconnect here in this track, run around, connect to the other end, load up the train, and take off. Right here they got a rest in peace track where they fix cars at. And that's what's
rest in peace. That's too funny. To rest in peace is the way to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you could actually literally I know I'm getting some echo.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
It's really cool to model, like you were saying, Andy, because it gives you, different modeling aspects of the.
Yeah, but you can put anything there, and so virtually every yard. I mean, not a marshalling yard or a special purpose yard, but every general purpose yard had a repair and place track, a rip track, and normally beside it, engine facilities, whatever. It's often not modeled, but it's a very interesting thing to model because there's wheels and scrap and junk laying everywhere. It's just really modelable. But oftentimes, if they're out on the railhead somewhere running and they have a hot box or a problem, they've got to drop that car somewhere. And if there's a team track somewhere, it ends up doing service as a repair and place track.
And if anybody's interested in where that was, where I was just showing, that's called Cabazon, California. And that's where the famous dinosaurs are, where the guy made the dinosaurs. So I was trying to show right now. There we go. And they've actually been in a few movies. I don't know what movies. You see the brontosaurus in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So John Allen wasn't so crazy because he famously had little dinosaurs on his layout every now and then. He'd tell people to go find them. So I guess you could have a dinosaur on your model railroad.
Yep. There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the background behind this building right here that's chasing the brontosaurus there. So, it's in Cabazon, California, where I was showing you guys. So, something a little interesting that I thought I'd throw in there.
Yeah. My buddy's on the T-Rex with it.
Yeah, you can see the top of the brontosaurus right there, and there's a T-Rex right there.
That's very cool.
I could probably talk with Andy for hours. You can stop for me, John.
Andy, did you hear me?
What'd you say, sir?
Yeah, you're the one that's echoing.
Yeah, of course I am.
Busted. Busted.
Yeah. Actually, he's had a pretty good long run without it going.
For once.
Yeah, he's done good tonight. Made it this far without an echo.
It always happens when I'm on for a while.
It happens to everybody.
Not me.
Or me.
Seems to happen a lot with the Macintosh, with us Macintosh people. The plug-in does that.
Yeah.
Hey Andy, I got a question.
Sure.
What would be the typical weight on a boxcar gondola, like the 50s and the 40-foot cars during the 40s and 50s?
So a 37-foot box is rated at 40 tons, somewhere like that, and a 50-foot box is rated at 56 ton, 54 ton, I think. Gods varied very dramatically. So, for example, I'm building a 52-foot PRR God, and I've done some research on this to make sure I'm doing it right. And according to what I understand, these things are only rated at 30 ton. So they're fairly lightweight rated because they have the rigidity of the body of a boxcar. But they don't have the rating of, say, a hopper. You know, a hopper of the same length can hold 70 ton. You know, a 34-foot hopper can hold 70 ton of coal or rock, whereas a 37-foot boxcar can only hold about 40 ton. So, and it depends on whether it's wood. It depends on the era. In 1950, they were still running plenty of wood boxcars, and they didn't have near the rating. They had about half the rating. So you could only put about 20 ton in a wood boxcar.
Okay, I got a question.
Certainly.
What the heck is Jim doing?
Oh, this is breakfast. I'm preparing for tomorrow.
Pancakes.
This recipe really sticks to your ribs, literally.
You got glue, and you got paint. I'm like, what are you making, mud?
Yep, that's what I'm making. How'd you guess?
That's the only thing I can think of.
It's that ground goop.
Scenery goop.
Scenery goop, ground goop.
I've never heard of it.
Really? It's equal parts of celluclay, vermiculite, latex paint, and Elmer's white glue.
To go where, actually?
It
I don't
goes
like it.
everywhere on your scenery that you want it. Let me finish mixing this. I'm sure you'll still be around, and I'll show you what I've done with it so far.
Yeah, ground
all of
cover.
my layout is that stuff. Everything that.
I'm just trying to figure out why you need the glue when the paint would do.
I don't use the glue. Personally, I don't like the glue. It makes it too hard for me. But the original mixture, and the mixture that most people use, has white glue in it. But I don't like it with white glue. I got my recipe from Mike Confalo of New Hampshire, the Allagash Railroad. He doesn't use the white glue either. It gets hard with the white glue. Whereas without the white glue, it stays a little rubbery, a little more rubbery, and it's easier to poke a tree into. So I've tried the white glue, but I like it better without it.
I've never seen this combination before.
It's a Lou Sassy recipe from the late 70s. Mike Confalone has brought it back to popularity. I started using it a few years ago when I first came back to the hobby. I had watched Mike Confalone's videos, and he calls it universal mud. And I love it. I'll never use plaster again.
So this is replacing plaster and kind of having kind of some sort of texture as well.
Yeah, it has a texture to it, enough for everything to grip to. It looks okay until you get around to putting dirt and leaves and crap on it. But I ultimately cover all of it anyway. But it has a texture, so everything sticks to it real well. And it replaces everything. It replaces plaster everywhere but for rock molds. But I'm going to buy Joel Bragdon's geodesic foam base kit and molds and stuff. I have some of his molds already that I use to plaster. And I'm going to try the geodesic foam for rock. And if that works for me, I'm going to do away with plaster even for rock.
And I did four parts of the vermiculite, the celluclay, the paint, and I only did 3 parts of the white glue and 1 part hot water. It's still spongy to me. It's still rubbery. When I push on what's been dried for a few days, I can indent it with my finger. You know, it's got a rubbery consistency even after it's dried.
Right, even with the white glue in it. Mine does too. I tried Lou Sassy's original recipe, but I mixed 1 to 1 to 1, whatever, with that, because I was still trying to find the perfect ratio. And it got harder. I mean, I wouldn't call it hard. It's still spongy either way you go. But I don't think you can go wrong with or without it. I just like eliminating it for simplicity, cost, and everything else.
Well, I figured the cost of the paint, the glue I get for $12 a gallon.
Yep.
The paint, when it's on sale, is $11. So, you know, but normally the cheap stuff's $14, $15 a gallon.
Yep.
So I figure I'm saving a little bit unless the paint's on sale. And then I'm spending $1 too much. So.
Yeah, 6, half dozen the other. I don't think it makes a big difference whether you use it or don't. I did use it. One of the sections over here has it. Didn't hurt my feelings to use it. I just like working with it better without it, but I don't think it makes a big difference. Now,
and I agree.
Vermiculite does. How much vermiculite you put in? I put in, less vermiculite than I do the other stuff, but I kind of mix it to eye. And I use more vermiculite on steeper surfaces to get more bite, less vermiculite on smoother areas. I think the vermiculite, how much vermiculite you put in it, controls the mixture a lot. If you over vermiculite, it's not a good thing. Under vermiculite, it's not a good thing. It's,
Right. And of course, I'm using 1 to 1 with the vermiculite, so I've got a little bit more of a bumpy, rocky type texture.
Sure.
Which and it's all personal preference. You like it with about half as much. You don't like as much texture as I do. So To me, it looks like mud. I mean.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It does either way. I just wanted I want enough vermiculite so it has a bite, so that it sticks to the foam, and that so my scenery material sticks to it. But I don't like so much vermiculite that if I wanted a semi-smooth surface, say under static grass, for example, it would affect it a lot. And when I used too much vermiculite, it affected my ability to put static grass and stuff on it, just loose static grass.
Does it smell?
Well, like paint.
Yeah.
Just
You know, and here's the consistency. It's like a wet
peanut butter?
like a wet cow patty. You know, that's
Or lumpy peanut butter.
Yeah.
you know,
And it lasts forever, man. I make it up and work on I make about a gallon, give it a little less than a gallon. Yeah, I make it in a gallon jug. I make 3/4 of a gallon, and I will work on it for 8 or 9 months. And worst case scenario, I have to put a cap full of water in it. If I haven't used it in a couple months, I'll put a 1/4 cup or less of water in it, stir it around a little bit, and go to using it.
So that stays liquid mostly?
well, it stays just like
All dries?
this. Just like this, you know.
For years. For years.
Yeah, the one guy on the internet that I researched that I found the way, because I wanted to get an exact recipe, because Andy was just like, well, I put a handful of this, a handful of that. I wanted something I could go by. I'm one of those kind of freaks. So he had stuff that was 8 years old. And what he did was he formed it in a ball, kind of sort of in there, and then he put saran wrap over it right on top of the mixture to help keep the air from it. Then he sealed the bucket.
Yep.
And it was 8 years old, and he just added enough water to make it, because it was kind of dried up a little bit, where it wouldn't spread good, like a real thick molasses maybe. And he just added water to thin it out a little. So,
So I guess you kind of spread it a little thin on your layout. And
yeah, everything
whatever.
that's pink or blue is going to get this on it. I did not paint any of my styrofoam.
So I cover everything with it, absolutely everything. Now, if you're going down on plywood, supposedly you need to make it about a 1/16 or an 1/8 inch maybe, or thicker, because it wants to pill up a little bit. But I have not found that to be the case on styrofoam at all. It seems, I don't care how thin I put it, it hasn't filled up, and I've had some down for about 18 months, and it hasn't.
And this is getting pretty thick, but the mixture I did last Thursday, I only used 2 cups of white glue and 4 cups of the other 3 items. And when I come back a couple days later, it was just too thick. And I'm sure the vermiculite's absorbing some of the moisture. So I added 1 cup of glue and 1 cup of hot water, and that put the mixture right the way I liked it. So this is a little thick, so since I know it's going to need it, I'm putting in a couple. I used hot water just so it would mix in easier, faster. But
Yeah, I do too. I have better luck with that. I don't use a lot of water, but I do. You do need a little bit.
yeah. And the original recipe calls for a cap or 2 of pine sol or unscented
Lysol, yeah.
Lysol that helps keep it from forming any kind of fungus as it sits over, for months or whatever. But if you're going to use it right away and it's going to dry, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to add that point.
Yeah. What I do is I don't use it. I don't put it in by default. But if I end up leaving it for a while, I got a bottle of pine sol in here. I'll dump a little in it, seal it up, put it away.
I got this just a little thinner than what I want, but I suspect
Thicken up.
in a couple of days it's going to thicken up, because it's going to, that vermiculite's going to really absorb a lot of the moisture.
But it's kind of like
It's still pretty thick.
It's kind of like chili too. It's better the next day. So a lot of times, if I plan on doing some scenery work the next day, or I'm in a big project and I'm ready to cover it, I will mix it the day before and give it a little chance to kind of meld or kind of soak it all up.
Yeah, and that's why I was mixing this up right now. So I had a couple days to sit while I finish doing some foam work. But I tell you, this beats the heck out of. If you got a bunch of layers of foam. You don't have to worry about putting on plaster cloth or plaster or whatever. This works a charm. And then you still got to paint plaster.
Yeah,
And then
you mix
you got
color.
an even harder surface that you've got to make sure you poke a hole in.
Yeah, you have to drill the plaster.
So this, I think this, I've got $53 invested in the material, but I mean I bought a 5-pound bag of the Celluclay. That's $25, but I got it 40% off at Hobby Lobby. And the vermiculite I think was $8 a bag. I bought 2 bags thinking I'd need it. Probably not going to need 2 bags, but I had a hard time finding the small grain vermiculite.
Jim,
So I bought 2 while I had the chance. Yeah.
is that good to use also for when you're molding the side of hills or things like that?
Well, you still want styrofoam or something there as a base.
No, assuming that you have the base. Let's say you've got, let's say 3 pieces of styrofoam, an inch thick, and they're in an angle. Would you be able to mold like little lumps and bumps
Oh, yeah.
for the rocks? Yeah.
Yeah.
I put it on flat styrofoam and make undulations and all my hillside, all of it. I don't have a level anything. So it's all undulations. And it's all done with that.
Yeah. Can you see that the texture?
Yep.
And you know I've got little bumps and stuff here. I didn't make it nice like there's a real smooth spot, but it's pretty much, and it covers everything and it connects everything. And this is 2 pieces here, this piece and this piece.
Raise your camera up, Jim.
Oops. How's that?
Or
A little more.
Can you see my hand?
Yep.
Okay.
No.
This is one big piece, and this is the piece. So I just filled in between the cracks to make it one piece. So, I mean, it just solves a lot of problems of having to mess with plaster cloth. So you're painting it, you're texturing it, and you're sealing up all your levels. This is 4 levels here, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, so it seals up all your levels so you don't see the level lines and stuff.
Plus, where he's got that bump out there on this mountain by the tunnel portal, like we discussed earlier, he'll block you down too. Hold it in place.
Yeah, I use it to set my rock castings. I'll cut out a little spot because you cut it easy too with a utility knife. You decide you want to change something with plaster, you got to take a hammer or a saw and hack it off. With this, you can cut it with a utility knife. So I'll cover the mountains, lay my rocks in there, figure out where they go. Then I'll go in, just cut around them with an X-Acto. Then take a utility knife and whack it out. Throw a little bit of scenery goop in there, shove the rock in, and then just kind of mold the scenery goop around the rock. So it's my glue. And
yeah, and like John just said, that's solid. These 2 pieces are connected now. You know, this is a separate piece, this is a separate piece, this is a separate piece. This is all locked into place just by using this stuff. So,
because Jim, if you look at, I turn the camera around. What I did is I used plaster, but it's such a long process. I'm wondering if doing it the way you're doing it would be much faster and.
Well, I mean, it takes a little time to spread it out. Maybe plaster cloth might lay down a little bit faster, but then you got to wait for plaster cloth to dry good. Then you got to paint it. Then you got to, you know, if you want a texture, you got to lay a texture down on your paint. This just kind of it's a one-stop, one-play application, I think. Andy showed me this, and I'm sold on it. Like I say, everything that's pink, if it ain't got a building or track, it's gonna have this ground goop on it.
it's made me downright lazy about how I model because my early work I was doing, I was cutting the styrofoam really close to right. But I was actually cutting it really close to right, sanding it with a Stanley Sureform, making a mess, putting spackle on it, and sanding it again. And my first module is all just spackle, and it's perfectly smooth and sanded, and then paint and dirt and all that. And then I found the scenery goop. Now I just rough cut the styrofoam and lay this crap to it.
Right. And once I get this tunnel portal stained, and I get it in here where I want it, I'm just going to scenery goop right up here from the edge back I'm going to have rocks here that's going to hide that part, but right here there's a gap there, and I'm just going to scenery goop, just kind of just fill it right in with a little 45 like we do a caulk. And that'll glue that tunnel pool right in there in place, and you won't see the edges, and I think it'll look nice. So
looks good so far already.
yeah.
The thing I love about the scenery goop is, soon as you slap it down, it's browned and textured and all that right away. It immediately starts looking like scenery.
Yeah, and the only thing you got to watch for is when you're putting it down. I use the 2-inch putty knife. When you put it down, you're going to have lines where you run your putty knife across, you know.
Mhm.
And if you've dug out curves, you'll find yourself as you're coming across your putty knife filling those curves in. So you got to take your putty knife and kind of smooth into the curves, you know. So you find yourself working it. I mean, it's not just slap it on, you're done. You're going to work it a little bit, but you're going to see the lines, and you're going to take your putty knife and kind of go over the lines to try to smooth the lines out so you don't have lines where you smoothed it out. But again, the scenery that you put on, it's going to hide a lot of it, but
I use a palette knife, or an artist palette knife. You can buy a bag of plastic ones at Walmart at the craft store. Yeah, you can buy a bag of those, like 4 or 5 of them for $1. I bought a metal one at Hobby Lobby that I like. It's flexible. I love it. It was a couple bucks, and that's what I use.
yeah. So I use this one to get into the corners a little bit, kind of smooth it this way, because trying to get this big putty knife in there was a little harder, so it was easier to come in with this. But I mean, this just spreads so much more goop on at one time.
Yeah,
you can hear it.
I got like a spatula that I use, like a rubber-ended cake mixing spatula or something I bought for $1 that I use sometimes.
Yeah, see, I can tap that. It sounds like a rock, but I can put my finger over here, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pressing in, and it feels a little rubbery. You know, it's not plaster.
And my favorite attribute of it, there's a few. I love that it turns, makes scenery look like scenery really quickly. My favorite attribute, though, is every layout I've ever had, I always wanted to change them. And they were hard. Plaster was messy and difficult to make any changes to. With this stuff, on styrofoam, you can just take a knife and start chopping at it. You want to put a house up on the mountain? Take a utility knife, whack out your little spot for it, tear it out of there, throw some more down, set a house on it. I mean, in a matter of 30 minutes, you could have that. Whereas plaster, you do all kinds of damage, make all kinds of mess, spend 2 hours cleaning the mess up, spend 2 hours putting plaster down, give it a day or two to dry. You'd be out a week trying to do something that I could do in 30 minutes.
I've got about a half a gallon of paint.
Yes, it dries pretty quick, too.
Yeah, overnight, 12 hours.
Yeah.
I still found a couple spots where it was a little heavier that was still kind of soft after 12 hours, but within 24 hours it all felt the same.
I've got a few spots that are an inch thick, give or take, like in the V of where I cut mountains off, I left the V and I filled it in, and they're still pretty soft for a couple days, but they're not soft enough that I couldn't go on over it with scenery.
This is my second 4-cup batch, and I got a half a gallon of paint left, it looks like. So I can make 2 more batches, but I think I'll have just enough, maybe. I hope I don't have to buy another gallon of paint.
I've used more paint than anything else. The paint's the only thing I've had to rebuy so far. I'm still on my first bag of vermiculite, my first bag of paper mache, and I'm on my second gallon of paint, and I've done around 30 feet of layout at 2 foot wide, covering everything.
Let's see, what's 2 cups a quart? Or 4 cups is a quart? 1632. 2 cups is a quart.
2 cups.
So what I've used, used supposedly a whole gallon.
2 cups are a pint.
2 cups are a pint. Okay, 4 cups is a quart. Well, that's what I was thinking, but yeah, okay, yeah, 16 ounces is a pint, not 8 ounces. Yeah. You're right. So 4 cups to a quart. So I've used 2 quarts of a vermiculite out of an 8-quart bag, which, I guess I can walk over. That was an 8-quart bag, and I've used 2 quarts out of it, so plenty of vermiculite. And I bought 2 bags of this because they had a hard time finding the real fine vermiculite. I had to Ace Hardware's where I ended up going. It was about $8 a bag, but
I am finally getting pretty low on my vermiculite. I've got down to there. I've used 3/4 of this bag.
So I might have to buy more glue and maybe more paint.
You got to have glue for all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah, well, I didn't think I'd ever go through more than a gallon of glue in this hobby. Yeah, it's my choice. I'm doing it. I could have went without the glue, but I use paint because the glue is a liquid that helps the mixture. So
yeah.
So I'm either going to use the paint or I'm going to use the glue. Either way, it's going to come out to about the same cost. So I went with the glue. And you can see that white ridge rock that I put on the side of that one mountain over there, the opposite of where you see the tunnel portal. I just slapped it right on there while the stuff was wet, and that dude is glued on there. It's not. I mean, it'll come off, I'm sure, if I tried hard enough, but
it's tough.
Pretty,
I broke several molds taking them off. It's tough.
Yeah. So if I want to put another rock on a hill there later, just apply some more vermiculite or the more ground goop right on top of the old ground goop, and shove my rock on there and let her go, and she'll be adhered real good. And all around the edges will be sealed. You won't have no gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I think it's a great idea.
I'm thinking about getting some shaper sheet. Make my mountain with it.
I like the idea of it, but doggone it, Dave Vallejo. But doggone, it's expensive for what it is. And I'm not adverse to spending money on stuff, but doggone it, that stuff's high.
Well, and how much is a foam? If you're going to do a foam mountain, I mean, you're talking.
Well, I'm thinking time.
$18 a sheet.
Oh, time matters. No argument that time matters and your value of time. Have you seen? He does Colorado Joint Line. His name's Steve.
Yeah.
Okay. He's an interesting modeler. He does some interesting, unique stuff. And he did a review on Shaper Sheet that was pretty informative. But he also come back and used blanket matting or quilt matting. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to make a mat, it's that thick. And he rough piled stuff up, covered the mountain in that, and then painted it. And it has a texture to it too. And I'm going to experiment with it and probably do at least the tops of my peninsula in that. And it's fast as grease lightning to put on, and already has a texture to it. So.
Yeah, I was just thinking around that corner where I have my mountain made out of foam at the moment.
Yep.
I was like, well, if it take one roll of shaper sheet, it's $22 for the 5-foot long piece.
Yep.
That'll fit all the way around that corner, and I have plenty of movement and stuff to make whatever I want to make.
It's also hollow, so if you're running scenery through it or close to staging or in some places, I could see the value in being able to keep it hollow and not having to support it. So, I mean, I wouldn't rule the stuff out. It just, if you're going to do much scenery with it, boy, you're going to rack some money up.
Yeah. I'm just looking at, being able to keep it light and then actually removable. So take my mountain out. If I ever had to do that, it wouldn't be attached to the wall and whatever. It'd be kind of flexible enough to just pick it up and move it.
Yeah, you got to look at that matting, that quilt matting too. That would be, because once you paint it, it gets rigid too. But you still have to have some support for it.
Shaper sheet is just basically, I think, for areas where you want to have something that's removable that doesn't need to have the support to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the Woodland Scenic stuff that I saw at the show was just, that's all freestanding and everything. I was like, they made that look really, really nice.
Yeah.
They've made a really tall, golly slope mountain area.
Yeah.
I've seen it in the magazines, on their website is where I saw it. I think it's 6.5 feet tall.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow. See, Dave Milan's done 2
Yeah.
feet.
But the thing of it was, I mean, because it was on slope, they did have to put some support in behind it, but it's just right along the center of it, and it still stood by itself. And wasn't much support at all.
It had to have support because you have multiple sheets, so there's no way to connect those sheets and have the rigidity.
Yeah, they glued them.
One sheet, you wouldn't need support.
Well, it's one sheet is 5 feet long
Hey, John.
by 18 inches wide, so they could have made that out of whatever. I
Going
mean,
vertically.
they cut them at 5 feet.
Yeah, going vertically.
Yeah, for their little thing there, they could have cut, 18-inch, 24-inch by 7 feet long or whatever,
Yeah.
crumpled it up to make it fit.
Yeah, Jim.
It's just a little bit after midnight. I'm going to leave and go start the after show hangout.
Yeah, I'm fixing to shut it down.
All right.
Oh yeah, we're in a recorded thing.
Hence the little live button up there in the top.
Yeah,
Right-hand
it is.
corner.
I just happened to look.
Dan, so you're a movie star again tonight.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I figured you and Lee swapped out. Lee's usually the one that comes in towards the end, but Bob came in towards the end tonight.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Jim's going to start up an after show, so any of y'all that want to go to that, you can. They'll be out there on the YouTube Mall Railroaders page. So, let me get up here. Y'all see that okay? I'm presenting to everybody.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. I want to say keep checking in on YouTubeMallBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the Tuesday night presentations, which, by the way, are pretty much every other week now. The EMAG and the live show schedules. The live show is once a month. It's every third Saturday. We've got one coming up this coming Saturday, July the 16th. That's going to be with myself as the director, and Barry Rozier will be the host tonight, Saturday night. Big Bill had a commitment that he had to go do, so it'll be Barry and myself this month. And the EMAG is bi-monthly. You can go to the website also there, click on the EMAG, and sign up for email notification when it comes out. It's PDF, so you can be able to read it on a wide variety of different devices, anywhere as you want to be. Yeah, you got the live show schedule, so right there too. Tuesdays, like I said, was every other week now. Thursdays, general hangout is each week as well. And go to the website, sign up for the EMAG, and check your schedules and times. All shows, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, are all 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. So check your time zone against 9 o'clock Central Time, so you won't miss out on the Tuesday or Thursday or Saturday night live shows. And as always, we have the Q&A. We welcome questions and comments on those. If you have any ideas for shows, Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday, you can go to YouTubeMallBuilders.com, get the email address there, and drop us a line. Let us know what you want to see, because all this is for the viewers. So if you want to see something, let us know so we can try and get it for you. I want to say thank you for participating in tonight's hangout. We got Mr. Bob, Mr. Newcastle, Lee, Jason, Hillbilly, Mr. Hawks, Andy, Andrew from Australia was in here earlier. Well, thank all the viewers in the Q&A, Bruce, Curtis, James, for being coming in tonight. Thank you, Bruce, for the links for those to go get some information on the TOFCs or the COFCs, container on flat car. With that said, have a good weekend. Don't forget the show, Saturday night show. We will see you again next week, same time, same channel. Y'all have a good night.